There's been lots of chatter about prayer in our household this week, and partly that's because our kids have gone back to school. Another reason is they're going to Catholic school, and so they're praying there a couple times a day, and so it's interesting to get their takes. And we have them from PK all the way to a senior in high school and everything in between. And so lots of talk about prayer, and certainly they're praying for themselves and requesting that God be with them, even when they haven't done their homework. Hello, I'm Pastor John Rudolph from the North Carroll Cooperative Parish, and this is the weekend of August the 29th. And so it's a long month, 5 weeks in this series where we've been discussing prayer, specifically CART prayers, confession, adoration, requests, and thanksgiving. And a way to think about our healthy prayer life includes a variety of ways of speaking to God. And we've been putting the cart before the horse as we have discovered prayers from some of the Old Testament characters that are familiar in some ways, and others we had to do a little bit of digging to see who exactly these people were with these powerful and beautiful prayers, and what were the circumstances surrounding their confession or adoration, request, or thanksgiving to God. Today and this weekend is no different in terms of this series. We're looking at a character called Habakkuk. And if nothing else, it's a cool name to say. It's a short prophetic book towards the back of the Old Testament. Only 3 chapters long, so you can read it every day for homework during your prayer time, and that would be a great thing to do. We're focusing on the end of that book, chapter 3, today, and I encourage you to read it now as we spend some time together. He is a prophet that is a little bit hard to pinpoint in an exact period of time or date or decade, but we do know from his words that he's working during the collapse and exilic period when the Babylonians have taken over Judah and the people are being exiled out. And so that is his work time frame. Just for our purposes, this is not an exact date, just so you can put it in some context. About 580, 570 years before Jesus the Christ, just to give you a little bit of context. Again, it's a brief book, and it's unique in terms of the prophetic writings because this prophet Habakkuk, is not working directly with the king, and so he's not like getting a word and then giving it to the king, or getting some word from the king and giving it to God. Nor is he working with a people, trying to get a whole group of people to shift back to God. That's what we're more familiar with in terms of prophets, like Isaiah or Jeremiah. But no, Habakkuk and this book and these 3 chapters, it's just him and God. He's speaking to God, and God is responding. That is it. A simple relationship. So it's a great place to end this series on prayer. In chapter 1, what we discover is this prophet, Habakkuk, is upset with God. He's angry. He's mad. He's become impatient as he's looked around at the circumstances, as he sees the enemy coming and destroying and destruction all around and sending the people away. And so he's crying out in this prayer of lamentation, of lament. He's saying, "Oh Lord, how long should I cry for help?" That's the first verse of this Bible, or of this chapter of this book. "Oh Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear? Or cry out to you violence, and you will not save? Why do you make me see iniquity? And why do you idly look at wrong?" And so this is a very deep and personal prayer for the circumstances that Habakkuk finds himself in. He's wondering and he's talking to God just like we would talk to our friends and family when things were going badly. And he's asking why, basically, why are these things happening still? Why has God appeared to be on the bad guy's side? Why are good things happening to bad guys? In other words, is what he's saying. Or at least, why is he using the Babylonians to do this? There's injustice and pain and destruction in their land. They're not following Yahweh. Why are they winning and expanding their kingdom? So then he's going to go on and list out some specific woes and things that are going on. And then he's going to hear in the meat of this book a response from God. So God is going to respond. Interestingly enough, God is going to do most of the speaking in this 3-chapter book. However, in the midst of all this pain and destruction and losing battles, the actual passage for today, the tone has shifted. It's a tone of hope. And so if chapter 1 we start with, "O Lord, how long shall I cry for help?" Well, in chapter 3, it's shifted to hope and joy. So what has happened? What's happened in the middle of this book to make this shift? Had the Babylonians been defeated and been turned away? No. Had the people of God repented and turned back to Yahweh? No. Had the people of God returned from exile and come back and resettled in their land? Absolutely not. Has the king been restored to his rightful throne? Nope. So nothing physically has changed. From the time that Habakkuk cries out to God, lists his woes, nothing has changed. So what happened? Well, it's Habakkuk. Habakkuk has changed, at least his outlook. He has had an opportunity to recalibrate. We get this lesson from Habakkuk that's very important in our prayer life. And what we're going to discover is that even though the circumstances have not changed, and a lot of times when we're praying and we're crying out like Habakkuk has in chapter 1, we want immediate results. And we keep talking and we keep talking, we keep chattering, we keep yelling at God, we keep questioning, we keep speaking, and we never take a chance to just shut up and listen. And so there's this word in our reading for today called Selah. And so as we're reading, and we'll read this passage here in just a minute, you're going to notice 3 times in the reading, or if you read the whole chapter, 3 times, Selah. And so this gives us a clue about what Habakkuk did in order to change his tone, to change his outlook. Selah is a instruction that is given to the musical leader here in this passage. You see, this prayer, this part of the prayer, chapter 3, where Habakkuk is going to pray this prayer of hope and joy, was meant to be sung and meant to be accompanied by musical instruments. And so this word Selah, which is going to be our instruction for the day, is the opportunity and means take a musical break. So whoever is singing or speaking this prayer, shut up and let the music take over. It happens in popular music today all the time. And as soon as I started thinking about musical interludes, musical breaks, I started to think about some of my favorite songs. In popular music, interludes are most commonly employed as a pit stop. And what the artist that's writing the song does is it gives an opportunity for the hearer, for the listener, to recalibrate and refocus our ears on a bigger picture. That's powerful insight for what we're going to be talking about in terms of this prayer today. It also gives the artist, the singer, the lead singer, an opportunity to pause and breathe. 3 of my favorite Selahs in music from what I think of as the best era of music comes from the 1990s. And so as soon as I started thinking about this, I thought of Dave Matthews Band, and specifically a song called Ants Marching. And I saw Dave Matthews in concert 7 or 8 times, and he sings for hours, and he's just sweating, and he's poured out, and he just puts all his energy on the stage. But at times, there's these long musical interludes, which gives him a chance to rest and to get a drink of water, maybe even go off stage. And there's this great one in Ants Marching where there's this long solo featuring the violin and later the saxophone. It's actually towards the end of the song, but it gives everybody a chance to recalibrate and take a break. But it's also a powerful part of the music. Towards the end, Dave Matthews comes back, and he's also ready to transition into the next song. 2 of my other favorites, just real quickly, because I want to mention them because I love it. Pearl Jam, Alive. Again, one of the best guitar solos in all of rock history is in that song, Alive. Same deal. Gives Eddie Vedder a chance to rest his voice, get a drink of water, and gives the audience a chance to a break from the lyrics to recalibrate. And then one of my favorites from high school, Guns N' Roses, Paradise City, an awesome musical interlude for their guitar soloist as Axl gets a break as they move into the end of that song. But interludes, Selah, gives you a chance, a pit stop, a break, a chance to just wait and listen and shut up. And it's utilized here for Habakkuk as well, to take a break in the midst of this prayer, to take a step back, look at the bigger picture, however you want to think about it, to wait and patiently listen and hear from God. We actually start to see this shift in Habakkuk even before chapter 3, his prayer. As in chapter 2, after he's complained to God and after we hear the list of woes, he finally does his own Selah. He takes a step back and he says in chapter 2, I will take my stand at my watchpost and station myself on the tower. I'll look to see what he will say to me and what I will answer concerning my complaint. And so it is. He stops and he says, I'm going to wait and I'm going to see what God is going to do and what God is going to say. How many times do we do that in our prayer life? When you're praying, you're listing out all your confessions, adorations, requests, and thanksgiving. Do we ever just stop and listen? It's a very uncomfortable practice, but it's something that we need to do, and Habakkuk teaches us this here and now. So as we look at this and we get into the chapter 3, nothing on the outside has changed. The circumstances Habakkuk finds himself and the people in, nothing has improved since chapter 1, verse 1. Nothing physically has changed. But then we get this in chapter 3. Though the fig tree should not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of olive fail, and the fields yield no food, the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd on the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God, the Lord, is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's. He makes me tread on high places. And that's how he ends the book. He ends the book on this great high of hope and joy, even though he's still in the midst of the destruction and the exile. How did he get there? He took a break. He shut up. He listened. And he saw what God was about to do. He took a step back, recalibrated himself, and was waiting and ready to hear a word of joy and hope from God. Habakkuk urges the faithful to wait. He urges us to wait because in the long run, God will prevail and the arrogance of the empire will fall. That's what he heard from God, and he only heard that because he took a break. He took a Selah. He took a pit stop, and he waited. And we get this wonderful and beautiful poem of hope, this prayer of joy and salvation. And so really, in the end, what we get is Habakkuk puts the cart before the horse. He puts the cart before the horse. He puts the hope before the deliverance. And that, my friends, is the power of prayer. Being able to accept and claim the joy and hope of salvation before it even comes. And so in our prayer life, we might be impatiently waiting for something to change in our life, for the destruction to turn around. But it's in the waiting, and it's in the patience, and it's in the silence that we just might hear this word of joy and hope from God. And it's putting the cart before the horse, but that's what our faith is always and also powerfully about. So may God add his blessing to this word today, and may you enjoy some silence and some waiting in the midst of your prayer life this week as you pray to your God and to our God, Yahweh, this day and every day as we move forward. Amen.